Is friend of the show Jaylon Smith a dirty player or just kind of goofy? Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys, where on Thursday we saw yet another weird Jaylon Smith demonstration. And Jaylon Smith, friend of the show. And I'd like to corral him and ask him about this, and I will try to. Thanksgiving, Jaylon Smith once again expresses himself with an unusual physical demonstration. The Cowboys have been asked, is what he did a dirty play? And the Cowboys just kind of smile and roll their eyes. It was an off the top of the rope professional wrestling move in the 28-20 Cowboy win, for reasons that no one can quite explain, except to say, as one guy told me, that's just Jaylon being Jaylon. And nobody, and kind of rolling his eyes and smiling. No offense given, no offense taken, maybe. Jaylon, obviously one of the great successes in terms of medical and maybe spiritual comebacks. He tore up that knee in the nastiest possible way in his final game at Notre Dame in the bowl. Would have been a top 5 pick in the draft. Instead, the Cowboys say, we think we know something here, and they take him in the second round when some teams weren't going to draft him at all. He fights his way through rehab. I've told you the story before. I would sit in the locker room with him, and he almost needed a third person to help him put on his sock because his drop foot made it so his ankle, and I don't mean to be gross, his drop foot made it so his lower leg, ankle, and foot were all just like a dead fish. His foot couldn't do anything. His foot couldn't help get the sock on. For him to turn himself back into a football player, really, it's a marvelous success story. He earns playing time, plays in a Pro Bowl, I think, and then gets the big contract. His time in Dallas ends a year ago. He since catches on with the Giants and is a full-time contributor on a winning team. But in the Thanksgiving game, he jumped on top of a pileup while former teammate and still friend Zeke was down, and it was weird. Not dirty, just weird. McCarthy, Cowboy coach, if you watch Jaylon play a lot, he jumps a lot. That's something that's all over his tape. I don't think it's out of character for him. But Jaylon, why? Why did you jump up in the air and turn sideways and come down like this on top of a pile? Now, he didn't really deliver an elbow blast. It kind of just looked like it. But why? Now, the Giants, according to Micah Parsons, did get a little dirty in that game, which explains the alleged punch. We'll get to that later in the day. McCarthy and my other source on this, it doesn't explain why Jaylon does these things, just that he does these things. And it's a bit bizarre, but in the end, it's just another chapter in a demonstrative series of Jaylon moves that nobody quite understands. The famous/infamous swipe. We're behind 30-0, and I make a tackle 10 yards downfield, and I celebrate with a swipe. And I've explained it, as he explained it to me. It's just a celebration of life. I'm alive. God is good. I'm blessed. I'm out here on a football field. But it never played well in Dallas. Last year, when the Cowboys went into the Tom Landry victory mode, and Jaylon was on the other team, he did it with him. And he was on the other team. So Jaylon does these things. And there was no harm intended. There was no real danger. It was just Jaylon being Jaylon. Fish out.